All right, so this is going to be the beginning of phase two. And if you are looking at the folder that I suggested that you go ahead and create, then you've got something right here. You see at the top, it says MAT 135 Project 1. Or if you created your own folder and you didn't use the zip download, then yours might have slightly different names, but essentially the folder structure that you're going to have for the project essentially is going to be that you have phase 0, the learning to see photography stuff, and if you look inside of it, this is where I put my Photoshop artboards for cropping photographs, and we have all that stuff that we've already done. It should already be done. All right, and then we also did our phase 1 identical studies, and I have 3 Illustrator files here. You might also have other files in that folder, like your PDFs that you exported, okay? But I'm just right now focusing on the Illustrator files. And then there's the phase 2 modified studies folder, which is empty right now. And these other folders are for future. So phase 3, 4, and 5 are future phases that we'll deal with later. But just to give you a sense of the folder structure, this is kind of important. So I just want to go over this really quickly. Now, if you remember, just as a recap, the phase 1 studies, we had identical point, line, and plane. So if you were to look, for instance, I'm going to do my quick view. If you look at the point, you'll see that, we've got these different artboards where we were doing things like, I think this is playful, congestion, conflict. This would be conflict also. This one would be congestion and playful, right? You get the idea. And then we also had our line studies that show time interval, repetition, and so forth, right? And the plane studies, okay, which are going to be the squares, so on and so forth, right? So that's what we've got so far. Now, what you want to do to get started on this next phase is select all 3 of these and make sure that they're your AI files, your Illustrator files, and not your AIT files or your PDFs. Okay, so make sure that they're the .ai files that already have all of your compositions from phase 1. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy them. And so on a Mac, it says copy 3 items. On Windows, it would right click and you would say copy, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the modified studies folder. You can see up here that I'm in the modified studies folder. It'll look a little bit different on Windows, but just go ahead and go into that folder. And then I'm going to right click again and I'm going to paste those items. Okay, and so this is what I have, and if you wanted to just double check, you can go back to the view that you were in, and you should see that now you've got a duplication of the files in your phase 2 folder, right? And that's what these are, from what was in your phase 1 folder. I'm going to collapse my phase 1 so that I don't accidentally do anything to change those. But phase 2, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rename all of these. So I'm going to rename where it says study 1, I'm going to call it 2. And then where it says identical, I'm going to change that to modified, like that. Okay. And then I'm also going to go ahead, just so I don't have to type all of that each time, I'm going to copy this portion and I'm going to paste it in here. All right, so I'm going to rename these. And it's important to rename these so that you don't get confused later. Don't just copy them and start moving forward. And part of the reason for that is that, for instance, if I were to go and open this plane, let's just look at the plane example. All right, you see that up here, it shows in the tab name, it'll say study 2 modified plane. Well, if I happen to also have this one open, right, so this plane, it's really important that the file names are different because they're in different folders and you want to make sure that you're working on the correct one. You can see how easy it would be to get confused if these had the same file names, in different folders and you were working on the incorrect ones and getting things mixed up. All right, so anyway, that sort of makes that point. All right, so you're okay to move on from here. Now you've got your basic file structure set up, and go ahead and move to the next tutorial.